Paul Ward. I'm the executive director and artistic director of Artichoke Music. It's been about 5 weeks, and it's been a whirlwind. Artichoke Music is based in Portland, Oregon, which is a really nice, relaxed place to live, no matter what you might see on the news. It's actually wonderful right now. It's a little bit hot. You guys have had heat on the East Coast.
We have.
And we're getting it now, but it's going to be nice by this weekend, which is good. I have a house party going on outside this coming Sunday, which will be awesome. But I'm thrilled to be here again with Jeff Antoniuk, who is one of the top forces in jazz education in the United States. And because he's digital, also, let's just say, he owns the world. So I'm glad to be with you, Jeff. And I'm going to give a little bit more of an introduction to Jeff. He's a Canadian. We love the Canadians.
Yes,
they show
indeed.
us how we can be better people on a daily basis. And my grandparents were from Canada, so I've got anyway. I grabbed some things from his website, and I do go to his website from time to time to see what he put up there. It has been heralded. I love that word, heralded, for his considerable chops, according to Jazz Times magazine, which never lies.
Never.
And another quote was, "He's a creative spark that never lets up," and that's absolutely true. And my personal experience with Jeff is that he's in the trenches every single day, educating people with video, with exercises, with engagement around sort of the mindset of music. And you can have all the degrees and accolades in the world, but the people who I love having in my life are the people who actually get up and make a difference with human beings. So I love that about Jeff.
Thank you.
You're an Eastman saxophone artist, which is something I learned today for the first time. See, this reading is fun. You went to North Texas State University,
which is
one of the best music schools in the United States, is, and ever will be. And I also learned this. You have a master's degree not only in jazz performance, but also ethnomusicology.
Right.
And also you spent some time as a young man in Nigeria, which is something else I learned. And this is really interesting because Artichoke Music was founded in 1973, I think it was. It's almost 50 years old. After a couple of hippies left Portland. I mean, we have the corner on the market on hippies.
Sure you do.
Right. But a couple of them escaped, went to Europe, and rode around in a VW bus and absorbed everything that Europe had to offer in the 60s and 70s. And one of the things was a wide variety of music they weren't hearing in Portland. So they came back and they established Artichoke Music, and it became a shop. It became a venue. It became a school, and it's been in existence for almost 50 years. And one of the things that I love about it is it has a world music DNA, and now it's acoustic, singer-songwriter, bluegrass, blues, folk, country, jazz. It does it all. If it's music we make in Portland, it's music that happens at Artichoke. So I love that you have an ethnomusicology degree, and I got to dig into your brain at some point about that. And just one sentence about me: I got a long musical background. I've played all styles. I prefer and love jazz piano for myself. I went to the College Conservatory of Music for a while in Cincinnati, Ohio, and my teacher was Tim Higgins, whom you know. And I believe you've worked with. Is that right?
Yeah.
Have you worked with Tim?
Well, a little bit. I've done some concerts with him, but he was a very formative, important teacher for me after I got my master's degree, after I left North Texas. Got a grant from the Canadian government. I could study with anybody on earth, and I chose Tim. So it was great.
He's great. He's great. Oh, he was such a big influence for me.
Me too.
But one of the great things about what you do is that you realize that once you get the bug for jazz, it stays with you, and you have to feed that bug. It's like the tapeworm of jazz or something like that. It's like, and so adult amateurs who are picking up their instruments again, like I did after a 20-year hiatus, or who have kept with their instruments but just need more guidance and more inspiration and want to do things with more people, you provide so much for them. And I wanted to mention real quick, at Artichoke on June 30th, you may be seeing this video after June 30th, but I just want you to remember these names, because these names are names of people that are of the same ilk as Jeff. John Stowell and Dmitri Matheny. They're performing June 30th. at Artichoke, 7 to 9, and beforehand they're doing a workshop. So that's 5 to 6:30.
And I wish I could be at that workshop. I am going to be here on the East Coast, so I'm so sorry I can't join that Artichoke event. But absolutely, I'm going to provide you with one of the Digging Deeper videos, which has a great PDF with it, and then one of the more recent J and J on Jazz videos. I'm one of the two J's. So yeah, 2 videos so people can get sort of familiar with how I look at things, how I like to teach, and some PDFs, because I always want it to be actionable information. It's great to think and pontificate about this music, but you know, we need to get playing it and using it. And as you said earlier, working with adult musicians, I've taught all levels, you know, from university adjunct down to doing performances at elementary schools. But the people I love working with and all of the work that I do through JazzWire and everything else is for adults, amateurs, and semi-pros, great musicians such as yourself, who are coming back to this music and really wanting to do something in a big way with it. So that's those are the folks I love working with.
Well, that's great, and I know people are going to appreciate the Digging Deeper content. That's how I really got to know who you were. All succinct, all clearly focused, all with exercises. You play on them so people can hear what your ideas are all about. Please tell us about what you're trying to do, particularly with JazzWire, but especially with the summer thing that is coming up soon, because we have something exciting that we'd like to talk about on that. But please give us some background on
Well,
this.
and before I bury the lead, we have an offer for everybody sponsored by Artichoke Music, 20% off these next couple of events. And thank you so much to Artichoke for contributing in this way. So we'll get to that in a second.
Fantastic.
So, and now this is frankly before COVID, before everybody had to figure out, oh boy, how do we do education online? About 2-3 years before that, I started thinking about, you know, is there a way for me to work with people in Europe or in Singapore or in Australia in a meaningful way? So I did a lot of work, hired a business consultant, an education consultant, and got to work on creating what would become JazzWire.net. So that's our subscription platform. We have hundreds and hundreds of adult musicians from 25 different countries working together in a super meaningful way. And all that matters to me is, are you better next week than you were today? That's all I care about. And the answer is yes for these people. So if you're an adult anywhere on earth, and if you're not making meaningful progress week in, week out, month in, month out, something's amiss, we can work on that. So JazzWire.net is the place to go. And Paul, what you were referring to are the summer programs. So for 19 years in a row, I've done an event here on the East Coast called Maryland Summer Jazz. So we recently rebranded it under JazzWire, so now it's called the JazzWire Summer Summit. And we do it 2 ways. For 19 years, we've done this thing in person here in the Washington, D.C. area, in Rockville, Maryland, just, 3 miles outside of D.C. And we actually have some openings. We're booked up for horn players. We're booked up for guitar players. This thing sells out every year. But I think we have 1 piano spot and 2 bass and drum spots. So if you're a piano player, bass player, drummer, and either live in the DC area or you're interested in coming out, because we have people from around the world who are coming to DC. This is July 20th through 23rd. And as I said, Artichoke offered to cover 20% of the tuition. The tuition is $1,000 or $1,025, something like that. 20% off, $800 or less. Thank you to Artichoke. So if there's anybody out there that's interested in this event, we are playing together. There's 8 or 9 faculty from around the country. Prince's trombone player, Greg Boyer. The 3D trio, Amy Shook, Sherry Miracle, great drummer from New York City, Jackie Warren, on and on. Fantastic faculty. So you come work in person, and it's all based on small group playing. So there's that. Now, of course, not everybody can fly to the DC area. So we have our online virtual experience, which is July 15 through 17. And again, a different faculty with that, Chase Sanborn on trumpet and Tim Young on piano. And a really meaningful way to work together, again, for adults online. And this is, I want to say, my 47th online presentation. So this isn't something, again, that we just kind of was a knee-jerk reaction to COVID. We've been producing online events for a good long time, and we know how to do it right. So again, the online event, I think the tuition is around $600, 20% off of that, thanks to Artichoke. So if you're interested in any of those, you can reach out to Paul, reach out to me, and we can get Artichoke to give you guys that scholarship. And it's coming up in the next handful of weeks. So if you're hearing this today, drop us a line today, and we'll try to fit you in. And again, it's all about getting us connecting, having a great conversation, which is fun, right? Human beings just coming together over something they love. That's a blast right there. But my job, the only way I sleep at night is if you sound better a week from now. And well, I'm anxious to get people sounding better, right? I don't want to wait a month. Hey, here's something to practice. Maybe in a month or two, you'll sound better. That's not the way I do things. So, yeah.
I actually participated in one of these, and it totally was wonderful. I think the topic on this particular one was triad pairs, which is one of my obsessions. And I think I mentioned earlier, there's triad pair stuff in here. But I completely endorse everything that Jeff has just said. And thank you for working with Artichoke on this. I really love it because when you think about what transforms a musician, it is not only being ready to be transformed because you've done the inner work. You know, you've done your scales and you know your arpeggios and you've listened to stuff and you've done your transcriptions. What really transforms us is working with other musicians. And it's like a different set of skills in a way. But you get to deploy the stuff maybe even in fresh ways when you're playing with other people. So what you offer with this, online outreach is not just sort of a digital platform, which you might describe to someone in the abstract. You're really creating transformational moments, and your focus on getting people to be better next week than they were today is that. I mean, that's really the key benefit. Let me just ask you this. For people who haven't actually been involved with this, give one example of the kind of lesson that you teach and how the faculty interact and what kind of content would be delivered, knowing full well this is one of a dozen insights that will be delivered in what you offer. Can you just walk someone through how that works?
Absolutely. So, I mean, the most important thing that does not happen online almost ever is we have to sort people. Right? If you and I want to go out for dinner tonight, the first question is, well, Thai or American, right? Are we going for barbecue or are we going for sushi? What kind, right? And then there will be a talk about quality. This place is okay, but actually the place down the road is better. So what kind and what's the quality? So YouTube is terrible at that. You click on a video and it doesn't care who you are. It's going to blow out that information in your face, whether you're ready for it or not. Whether you're bored, lost, or intrigued, doesn't matter, right? So with JazzWire and with the live events I do, it is so important that I know you're playing. Yes, you, ma'am, you're playing. I'm talking to you. So every person that comes into JazzWire, I hear you play. So that means, yes, you send me a recording or we get together and do a little Zoom call, whatever is easy for you. And so I need to know you're playing so that I can talk to you specifically. So the hundreds of people inside JazzWire, I know every one of their playing. It is my job to hear all those hundreds of people and then to hear them regularly. So that's a big deal. This idea that we can talk about triad pairs and one YouTube lesson is perfect for a beginner, a novice, an advanced person, a semi-pro. That doesn't make sense. That's not good education. I would argue that's not education. That's a content hose that's been turned upon you, right? So that's what we do with JazzWire. And so we teach different levels. Every week there's 3 different lessons, a video lesson, and it'll be on 3 different songs. It's important that this music is song-based. So I never teach a lesson about triad pairs inside JazzWire. I teach a lesson about the Coltrane song Equinox oh, by the way, triad pairs might be an interesting way to find a hit melody here. So
That's
it's
true.
music first and the devices second. And it's always, always, always very specific to your level. So for a lot of you that have had lessons that didn't quite work, or lessons where you were kind of lost or bored, or those less great experiences, whether it was in music education or something else you were trying to learn, almost always it was because the teacher wasn't talking to you. They were talking to a room full of people, and they took the average, and that's who they talked to. So in everything I do, I want to talk to you very specifically.
That has got to be critical to making each person who participates be better next week, because you're actually channeling what you're saying and teaching to that person where they are, which is fantastic.
Yeah, and it is scalable, right? Because when I decide, oh, well, these 75 people are kind of at a novice level where they sort of know their chord tones and they're just starting to work on such and such. Well, okay, so yes, now I can have a lesson that speaks to those 75 people. And these 200 people get a lesson that's kind of where they're at. But the thing is, I hear everybody play. I know how everybody's playing. So it's really cool that we can do this in a big way, in a global way, but it's very personal. And so as I was putting this together, the Socratic method of education, the idea of sort of learning as a group and learning as a team, and it's not the Jeff show, it's not the faculty member that gives the information. I feel like my job is to ask interesting questions, to offer a suggestion, to offer some ideas, ask a question, and now you and your group go do that. So in the real world, it could be your small group. Okay, let's play this song. Let's see what we get. Inside JazzWire, it's the conversations that get going.
Well, that's great. And I think that's critical. And once again, if you are in the DMV area and you play the instruments that Jeff had mentioned earlier, reach out to Jeff and see if you can sit in the same room with some amazing musicians.
And let me say, I probably didn't say the website. So if you go to JazzWireSummit.com, and the old website, those of the thousands of you who have been to Maryland Summer Jazz, that website still works, MarylandSummerJazz.com, and that's where you can get information for sure.
Okay, great. And I'll put that in the info below. Mm-hmm. Education is a huge thing for grant makers. So I love to be working with you on this because it really helps us stay sharp on our game about providing great education. And in music education, jazz is the thing, right? This is what they do in high schools nowadays because of the full range of benefits that you get from an academic standpoint, self-discipline and self-growth and all these kinds of wonderful. So to be able to work with someone who has been in the trenches as long as you have, to deal with the obstacles in teaching and to have solutions for them that make a difference in people's lives is a thrill. I want to also mention something that was an inspiration that Jeff and I have been working through in the corners of our days, whenever we have that, is something called a jam session in a box. And the idea is to create more opportunities for musicians to play, not just the pros, but the semi-pros and the students, by giving people a sort of checklist of things to do that help the venues afford creating jam sessions, that help businesses sponsor them and get more exposure, and obviously help the people who participate. As a start of this, I just want to give Jeff an update here. We have launched at Artichoke something called the Legacy in Training Jam Session, LIT, lit. It's a joke, or a play on words. And it's being run by, it was formed by three principal movers and shakers. I'm one of them. But Max Tucker, who's a wonderful drummer who was in New York and now is, he's from LA, but now he's in Portland, a wonderful guy. And Christopher Brown, who used to work with Roy Hargrove, and he did percussion with Beyonce, and he's a wonderful player, and he's an anchor in this town, and a leader, former Marine, and yet he's not going to make you do push-ups before he has you practice. Just a wonderful guy. And we do that just about every Saturday. We have a couple Saturdays off with July 4th and with the weekend, and we have a big blues festival going on that Artichoke is participating in right now, so it sort of blows out some of the other things we do. But we'll be back at it, looking for sponsors to pay for all of that. But the beautiful thing is, everyone is loving it. All these other nonprofits are coming and saying, hey, we'd love to support this, because the students are, they get the set list beforehand. They're getting some conversation, in many cases, exercises and so on, beforehand. And at the sessions, you aren't just playing the tunes and sitting down. There is that. There's playing and there's sitting. But there's also conversation going on. So the people who are better players can talk to the people who are not. And the people who are not the greatest players but are still better than the other ones are encouraged to mentor as well. So it's this whole ecosystem that can evolve out of a jam session that's so wonderful. And I'm inspired on a regular basis by the example that Jeff Antoniuk sets for bringing people up. So I really thank you for that.
Well, thank you. And, something you just said, I just want to, mention that for a second, that jam sessions are scary. They're terrifying. They're historically, I get nervous after 40 years of playing this music when I go to a jam session. Oh, am I going to know the tune? Am I going to know, all that human nature stuff. And so that's that level setting thing. So at a jam session, it's the Wild West. You don't know if you're, a real gunslinger or not till you got shot in the butt, right? So jam sessions, but then that is the great thing. It lets you know where you're at. And when it's a good jam session, like the lit jam session that Artichoke does, there are different levels, but then there is that love and care and communication that we are in this together, right? So there is that scary part, but that's called growth. That scary part, that scary thing that you feel when you go to do something big, that means you're getting ready to grow. So that's okay. And then when you do it in an environment where you feel people coming around you and supporting you, that is where it happens. So a well-run jam session, like the jam session kit we're putting together, that's what this is all about. And the fact that you have it up and running in Portland. I do a jam session here in Annapolis, Maryland, the third Thursday of every month, and it's sponsored by JazzWire. And same thing. That's exactly how we like to do it.
Well, good. Well, just to sum up here, I love everything you're doing, and the fact is you are constantly hanging out with people who are always learning, and those are the best kinds of people in the world.
Yep.
Because when you're always learning, you're always becoming more your best self, and that's sort of the big human message here. Use jazz to become your best self, or at least play in tune and in time, right? It's like
yeah, why not? That intonation helps too.
Intonation helps. Well, anyway, so thank you for your time. I know you got to run. I got to run too. I got another Zoom call I'm going off to. I appreciate what you're doing. We'll have all the links for everything Jeff is talking about below. We'll have the information about scholarships. We'll have information about all the things that Jeff talked about, but in particular, what's going on this summer, both in the DMV area, District, Maryland, Virginia, for people who don't know what that means.
Right.
And also online, and just find out more. And if you don't have Jeff Antoniuk in your world, it's time.
Oh, that's nice. Well, yeah, like you say, we'll have a couple links to some Digging Deeper series. That's a series of 200 videos I did. And then the J&J videos were at number 50 this week. So these are, educational jazz content built for adults. And of course, JazzWire.net is the way for us to work together in a closer way.
Well, thank you for mentioning J&J too, because I wanted to say one last thing. James, who is your colleague, he's the other J.
James Moore, he's the other J, yep.
He's a trumpet player, and this gig this Thursday is a flugelhorn player, Dmitri Matheny, whom I mentioned earlier, art farmer protege. If you're a trumpet player and you're watching this and you want to get some great content about the flugelhorn or about trumpet, you should check out J&J. On jazz, and you should come to the thing on Thursday, and the workshop would be fantastic. You get a discount if you go to the workshop and the show. So we're doing what we can.
Oh, it's wonderful. Great. Well, and again, thank you to Artichoke for the really kind donation of 20% off scholarships to everybody who wants to attend. By the way, the virtual session, we're not limited to instrumentation, so any instrument could attend the virtual session. So if you're a horn player, you heard me say earlier we're sold out. That's for the in-person one. So for the in-person one, we're looking for a piano player, a couple bass, couple drums.
Gotcha. Well,
good.
Thank you for saying that. And you have a great day.
Thank you, Paul. Good talking to you.
And I'm sure we'll talk again real soon, and I'll keep you in the loop about what develops for your stuff on our side, okay?
That sounds great.
All right. Thanks, Jeff.
All right, take care, Paul.
All right, bye.